Welcome to Charter's Local Edition. I'm Mark Staples, your host, coming to you from the state capitol at the 2015 Montana legislative session. And our guest, we're very honored to have, is the governor of Montana, Governor Steve Bullock. 2 years into the term.
Thanks great to be with you, Mark.
Thank you for taking the time. 2 years into your term, what are you pleased with so far? What do you still have to do?
Well, I think, we gather in the Capitol, and so much of the focus now for the next 90 days is what happens in this building. But also, as I look where we are right now, 12,000 jobs created this last year alone. Unemployment rate, 4.3%. Every sector of our economy is growing with the exception of government employees. Personal income raising much faster than the national average. And we've managed, we are called nationally the most fiscally prudent state in the country. That's provided us opportunities. So
Would that explain the credit rating?
Well, that explains the credit rating. Also explains legislature isn't here because of the way we've managed money, ability to essentially reduce interest rates that local governments pay, save $29 million across the state alone just by our ability to do that. Working on a daily basis to make sure that employers' needs are in sync with what our 2 4-year colleges and even high schools are doing. Through both the Main Street project and really we brought about 100 different employers together and said, what are those high skill, high needs jobs that you need filled? And we're all working around the table to get that done. So I think it really is an exciting time in Montana.
At the legislature itself, part of what you still want to accomplish, you have some agenda items.
You bet.
One of them has to do with, elliptically, with interest rates. We're talking about infrastructure needs. You've introduced a large package of infrastructure improvements across the state of Montana, and your preference is for at least part of it to borrow the money called bonding at the current low interest rates. Some people are saying, well, let's pay all cash, and then other people say, well, let's blend. Can we reach a blend of those two philosophies?
We need to. Really the most important responsibility the legislature and I share is managing Montanans' money. That's why I insist on leaving $300 million in the bank at the end of it. But we also have significant infrastructure needs all across the state. So what I proposed Build Montana program. It's an infrastructure program that would actually impact darn near every county, create 4,000 jobs, and it's a mix of cash and bonding or borrowing.
What's the price tag?
It's about half and half cash and the other half bonding. Now, at the end of the day, so it's a little north of $300 million for the whole project. But at the end of the day, because the way we've managed our money, we have record low interest rates, and we can do that on the state side. At the same time that we're essentially getting about an 8% return when we're investing money, we can borrow money for 4% or less. So it's only, we often hear that government ought to run more like a business. When you're making a long-term investment that's going to make significant difference over literally decades, you also ought to think like a business now and then and say sometimes it's actually cheaper to borrow than it is to use cash.
One of your philosophies about business is that education is everything. And one of those is that we need to invest in pre-kindergarten with a state program of grants that people can apply for and can go into that a little bit.
Yeah. Montana is one of 8 states in the country that have never made investments in our earliest learners. Notwithstanding the fact economists will say probably the best investment you can make, not just in education but in economic development, is between ages 0 to 5. Because by the time you're 5 years old, 90% of your brain is developed, you're almost set up for success or failure. 42 other states have figured this out. What we're proposing is to take money, give it to the locally elected school districts, and they can put together a program for 4-year-olds, half-day program, quality program. They can do it through their school district, through Head Starts, through existing even community-based providers. And really, when you look at this across the country, it's never been one that's wrapped up in politics. 42 other states are doing it because they know it makes a big difference. If you look at states led by Republican governors, they're spending twice as much last year as even states led by Democratic governors. So I think that this will take it'll take a little while for the legislature to really get their head around what we're lacking here, but I'm confident they'll get there.
Another budget item, another big item on your agenda. Tried it last time, ran into a bit of a headwind, Medicaid expansion.
Yeah, really, right now in Montana, we have about 70,000 folks that could receive coverage that aren't, if we had only accepted some federal dollars to expand Medicaid. Our program is really, no other state's doing it. It's not a pure Medicaid expansion. It's not a pure private model. It's modeled after the successful Healthy Montana Kids program that we have. At the end of the day, I think most folks would turn around and say, we're spending too much, we're getting too little. Struggling smaller hospitals, our rural communities especially, have so much uncompensated care because those without insurance are going to the emergency room. And at the end of the day, there's cost shifting that occurs to all of us. I think that there are majorities in both of these houses right now that know we need to do this for our economy, for those 70,000 Montanans, for the health system. It's just making sure that we get an up or down vote. It's been interesting even in the last number of weeks too. States from Wyoming to Alabama to Tennessee, who Republican governors had some concerns about the Affordable Care Act, but they're saying, for our state, we need to do this because it's going to make a difference.
Well, for your information, I've interviewed 12 people already today, and I've asked them the same question, and I haven't heard a Russian yet. No, yet. So they're talking about blending. So I think your prospects for some kind of negotiated proposition on that. Now, somebody said, and I forget who it was, it said, now the governor has said, his way or the highway, it's all or nothing. I didn't just hear that, though.
Well, anybody that actually knows me, that's worked with me, knows that at the end of the day, I think Montanans are less concerned about the politics, more concerned about having health care, a decent job, a safe community, good schools. So there's no my way or the highway by any means.
And in a number of your previous lives, you were up here negotiating things yourself, as I recall.
Absolutely.
So, I didn't think that was you.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say in terms of, we're running out of time, but I appreciate you coming by. 90 days from now, it's over. They're waving goodbye. You're going back to your office for 2 more years. What do you hope will have been accomplished?
I look at even last legislative session, we came together and did some great things for the state of Montana. So 90 days from now, I certainly hope we've made meaningful infrastructure investments across our state. I hope we're responsible with Montana taxpayers' dollars. Leave a little bit of money in the bank for fires, floods, government shutdowns. I hope we address some of the scourge of dark money coming in with a little bit more transparency for certain. Hope we do some things with preschool and also with addressing mental health. There's significant needs out there. And I think that we can come together and get some great things done for the people of Montana.
Well, thank you for taking the time to
Thanks so
join
much
us.
for having me.
Yes, good to see you. And thank you for tuning in to Charter's Local Edition. Governor Steve Bullock, thanks again for coming and be with us.